There comes a moment, subtle, often silent, when a chapter begins to decay, not with a bang, but with a whisper. A job that once thrilled us turns into a cage. A relationship once magnetic grows heavy with silence. A dream we once chased becomes a burden we now drag. And the world does not announce this shift. Life never yells, "It's time to leave." It merely becomes quieter, colder, until we can no longer ignore the pull. Sometimes it's in the small details, the way we delay getting up in the morning, the heaviness in our chest when we walk into a familiar room, the way joy becomes effort instead of ease. This is the moment the Stoics prepared for, not with fanfare, but with daily discipline. For them, this wasn't just a turning point. It was a test of character. When everything within you says stay out of habit, but your spirit whispers go out of truth, the Stoic response is not panic. It is presence. It is awareness without alarm. They understood that detachment is not coldness, but clarity. The art of walking away is not an escape. It is an act of strength, of inner conviction. To choose departure over dissonance, to exit with grace rather than linger in false hope, takes an immense force of will. Seneca, Epictetus, and Marcus Aurelius all spoke, in different words, of the graceful exit, of the courage it takes to say, "No more." And in a society that equates endurance with success, they remind us that sometimes quitting is not failure, but wisdom. And not all persistence is noble. Sometimes it is fear in disguise. Walking away is not about abandonment, it's about discernment. To leave at the right time, in the right way, for the right reasons. This is a virtue the Stoics held dear. They knew the weight of timing. To them, wisdom was not measured in how long one stayed, but in whether one stayed for the right reasons. This video is a map through those moments of silent departure. We will explore not just the theory of walking away, but the deep spiritual practice of detachment. We'll delve into how to feel the shift before it's obvious, how to trust the signals from your soul, and how to prepare yourself mentally, emotionally, and spiritually to leave without regret. This is not about running. This is about choosing. It's about stepping into the unknown with open eyes and a steady heart, guided by reason and anchored in virtue. Chapter 1. The Stoic Compass. Knowing your north. Before you know when to walk away, you must first know what you're walking toward. The Stoics taught that the only true good is virtue. Not fame, not success, not comfort, but the internal alignment of the soul with what is right, reasonable, and honorable. This principle becomes your compass. It tells you, this is not worth your peace, or this contradicts your values. Marcus Aurelius said, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." He did not mean we should stubbornly cling to every challenge. He meant we should confront each obstacle with clarity. Ask, is this obstacle calling me to grow, or is it a wall telling me to turn? To walk away wisely, you must be clear on who you are. The Stoics believed your daemon, your inner divine guide, was always whispering truth. That quiet nudge, that subtle unease when something no longer aligns with your deeper self, that is the whisper. We hear it when we're quiet, when the noise of ambition and obligation fades enough for truth to speak. We feel it in our bones when something no longer fits, like wearing a life that's become a size too small. But the whisper is not always convenient. It doesn't come with explanations or timelines. It disrupts our plans. That's why we often ignore it. We distract ourselves, rationalize the discomfort, or convince ourselves it's just a phase. The Stoics, however, trained for that inner voice. They meditated on mortality, on impermanence, on the ever-shifting nature of the external world, so that when the whisper arrived, they would not flinch. Clarity about who you are doesn't come from a title, a relationship, or a routine. It comes from ongoing examination, from asking yourself the hard questions. What kind of person am I becoming by staying here? What values am I affirming by my presence? What do I lose in exchange for the comfort of what's familiar? The question is, do we listen? And beyond that, do we act on what we hear? That's where wisdom begins. Listening to the daemon is one step, honoring it is the next. But action is the crucible where clarity proves its worth. Many of us hear the whisper but keep walking in the wrong direction, convincing ourselves that the noise will eventually fade. Yet the Stoics knew this is the very path to internal conflict, a life lived at odds with one's core. To honor the daemon is to answer its call even when it disrupts comfort. It's saying yes to authenticity over approval, yes to peace over pride. It's choosing the rocky, uncertain path of self-trust rather than staying rooted in what is merely known. This is not passive surrender, it's active obedience to the inner voice that asks not for ease, but for integrity. To walk away is not just a change in scenery, it is a return to self. It is the sacred act of reclaiming your energy from what no longer serves and offering it to the person you are still becoming. Each step away from misalignment is a step toward wholeness. And while the road may be uncertain, the compass within remains steady if we're willing to follow it with our whole being. Write down the 5 values you will not compromise. Keep them close. When life grows foggy, they will be your compass. Ask yourself regularly, is this path still aligned with these? Chapter 2. The courage of letting go. We romanticize holding on. We write songs about it. We reward people for staying, even when staying costs them their soul. But the Stoics saw things differently. They honored courage, not just the battlefield kind, but the quieter kind, the courage to leave a dinner party when the conversation turns sour, the courage to leave a job when it suffocates your spirit, the courage to walk away from someone you love, because staying would mean losing yourself. They celebrated the bravery it takes to let go of something once meaningful when it no longer nourishes the soul. That kind of bravery isn't always visible to others. It's not marked by applause or medals, but it is the kind that restores your integrity and protects your peace. It's the courage of the silent decision, the late-night resolve, the unseen boundaries set in solitude. The Stoics also knew that courage is deeply personal. What looks like weakness to the world may, in truth, be the most heroic act a person can take. Walking away doesn't always come with understanding from others. Friends, family, and society may question your choice, but the Stoic doesn't require approval to walk the path of virtue. They require only that their actions align with reason and truth. This is the kind of courage that shakes no fists, makes no declarations, but radiates peace. To the Stoics, there is no honor in clinging to something that corrodes your character. Courage is not merely about standing firm. It's about knowing when to step away. It's about having the internal strength to release your grip on what no longer aligns with your values. They believed that endurance is noble only when it serves the good, not when it serves ego, fear, or social pressure. Courage means understanding the difference between grit and grace, between staying because it's right and staying because you're afraid to leave. It's easier to stay and suffer in silence than it is to leave and face the unknown. But easier is not always better. Sometimes what we call endurance is really avoidance in disguise, a mask we wear to avoid confronting the pain of change. The Stoics would argue that real endurance is in facing yourself, acknowledging the hard truths, and in walking into the unknown with clarity rather than clinging to the known with confusion. That kind of self-confrontation requires far more fortitude than we often realize. Epictetus taught, Some things are up to us and some are not. That single truth, when fully grasped, becomes a liberating compass in times of transition. Staying in a toxic situation to try to fix it is often just pride dressed in the costume of responsibility, and pride, left unchecked, can keep us locked in cycles that strip away our peace. What's up to you? Your values, your choices, your presence. What's not up to you? The response, the outcome, the approval, the perception others hold of your choices. The moment you begin trying to control what is not yours to command, you've lost the essence of Stoic wisdom. And more importantly, you've lost time. Time that could have been spent walking toward what nourishes your spirit, what brings you closer to your essence.